And I'm gonna mute. All right, let me mute everybody out real quick. Try to get that.
Yep, perfect. There you go.
All right, guys, welcome to tonight's Royalty Movement Team Training. If you don't know who we are
Mr.
and Mrs.
Smith.
Out in North Little Rock, Arkansas. It's cold, all right?
26 degrees to be exact.
Yes, so we are going to finish our series on the W4. This is just part two of the W4 series. There's going to be a lot of parts. I'm probably not going to keep up with the parts, okay? So don't rely on that. But today we're doing an example, head of household, okay? She's a single mom. She has 2 kids. You'll see the paycheck stub. We're about to pull that up. We are using the tax withholding estimator tool. That tool is on irs.gov. You got anything to add before I get to pulling up screens?
The importance of this is basically you just understanding how my econ works in terms of cash flow. Sometimes people don't realize that the best way for you to hit your financial goals is not always to make more money, though you want to be doing it. It's also about giving less money away. So the W4 has been a strategy that has allowed people to give less money away. In many cases, get themselves a pay raise. And with that pay raise, you're able to get out of debt, invest more, save, things of that nature. But it's also a tax planning tool, because if you know, okay, I look like I might owe, then you can adjust so you don't position yourself to have to owe when it's time to file taxes. You're not caught off guard. Or you can understand, you know what, let me apply all of my econ strategies so I can have some tax deductions so I can position myself to not owe or get a larger refund. So it positions you to be able to tax plan. And then when somebody is filing your taxes, you're a little bit more ahead of them, and you'll know whether or not somebody, is really doing you a big favor, or if you were already in position because you knew what to expect from the beginning, because that's what the W4 positions you to do. Be proactive in terms of your taxes, and taxes are important because that's the biggest bill we'll ever pay. So it's that important. So hopefully you get some nuggets out of this. Hold your questions to the end, type them in the chat. We may be able to dig back through and go through it. But yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, y'all. And we're going to have some real talk at the end of this call. So make sure you stay on to the end. I'm going to turn off our camera. All right, so we were actually going through this example earlier, so let me get this cleared out so that we can start over. All right, everybody, so irs.gov is the website. Make sure you jot that down. That is the IRS website. On the home screen where we are, if you look directly in the center of these options here, it says check your federal tax withholding. Click on, oh, you know what? Y'all can't see my screen, can you?
No, that's all. Just checking.
Whew.
Hang tight. Quick technical. Nah, well, I got my stuff all the way down. Hang tight. Let us know when you can see our screen. Drop some 5s in the chat. We're getting back reconnected. But when you can see our screen, as soon as you can see our screen, drop some 5s in the
Okay, can you hear me? Oh, okay, you got kicked out. My bad, y'all. If you can hear me, drop a 5 in the chat. I'm having one of those days.
See some 5 so they can hear you. The screen look like it's about to show.
Okay, cool.
Yep, screen.
So,
Drop some 5 in the chat if y'all can see the screen.
All right. So let me go back. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, so on the website, if you look directly in the center where you have those 9 options, it says check your federal tax withholding. You are going to click there, and it is going to pull up this screen. Now, this should look familiar because we went through this last week, what all you need and how this tool works and all of that. So if you missed that call, make sure you go back and watch the replay. We are going to click where it says use the tax withholding estimator. And when we go here, as you can see, there are 6 steps. Now, the most important thing that you need to understand is that with going through this tool, you have to have your most recent paycheck stub. I repeat, you have to have an actual paycheck stub from your job, okay, for 2024, so that you can go through this. And this tool is going to sort out basically how much you're obligated to pay in taxes, how much should come out every paycheck, and then you can make a decision on what you want to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Again, we would love some participation on this one. What is the filing status that you will use? So looking at the tax return, guys, she is a single mom with 2 kids. What is her filing status?
Drop it in the chat. Pop quiz. Keep you on your feet. Single mom with 2 kids. What is her filing status? All right, I got one person said a little something, something. Okay, 2 people said a little something, something.
Okay.
Oh,
Head of
okay.
Head of household. Somebody saying single.
I got 3 head of households, 1 single, 4 head of households, 1 single.
Okay.
5. Okay. Perfect.
So let's keep it going. So y'all, head of a household is correct. Okay. And then you can always click on the little question mark and it will explain. Under head of household, it tells you generally you may claim head of household on your tax return if you are unmarried and pay more than 50% of the cost of keeping up a home for yourself and or your dependents. Okay. So it's telling you, you have to be unmarried. Married people cannot file head of household. It's not, he makes more money than me, so he's the head of household. No, you're thinking about the Bible or something different, okay? The IRS calls head of household unmarried and dependents, okay? So you have to meet both of those qualifications, where single is just that, single, no dependents. So head of household. Next, do you or will you have a job or a pension that regularly withholds federal income taxes from your paycheck? Take a look at the stub. Is she paying federal taxes? Drop a yes or a no in the chat. Okay. What we getting?
Got a yes. She's paying taxes.
Okay. Yes, that is correct. So we're going to put yes. Okay. Select any that apply. I plan to claim dependents on my tax return. I will be 65 or older on January 1st. I am blind, or I can be claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return. In this example, I plan to claim dependents on my tax return because she has 2 kids. Then we're going to go next. So step 1 was super duper easy. All right, let's get it with step 2.
All right, so let's get into the income and withholding. This is where the rubber meets the road. So basically on the income and withholdings, it's pretty much just that. You know, you put in your income and see whatever withholdings you have. So enter information from each job, because they want to know if you have more than one. And pension you will receive income from this year. To use this tool, you need to have a job or a pension subject to tax withholding. If you have Social Security income and you prefer to have tax withheld from your job or pension to cover that additional income, select 2 or more sources of income and enter information for your job or pension first. After that, you will be able to enter your Social Security income. So they want to know if you have a job and you're still receiving Social Security, they want to know both. You will enter that in as 2 jobs. In this case, it's just 1 job for this individual. So the question is, how many jobs will you have this year in which federal income tax is regularly withheld? Include this year's past, present, and expected future jobs. The first one has been added for you. So it's already in one there. You don't have to do anything. It's already there for you. Then it says your first income source. Describe the source of income. So this is an hourly job. You have to base this off of you. If you know your salary, do that. If you know you're getting pension, do that. But this is an hourly job. Select what best describes when you earn income from this job. And we're planning on this person being there all year. If you plan on being there all year, you're not planning on getting fired, which nobody does. You're not planning on leaving. Then just put all year, because they're going to base it off of the full year. How frequently are you paid? For this person, the answer is weekly. And if it's ever time, as we always say, that you come to a part and you're unsure about something, you can always hit that little question mark. So basically it says pay frequency. This is how often you receive a paycheck from your employer/pension. Typically, this is weekly, every 2 weeks, twice a month, or once a month. So it's about when you receive it. They want to know when you get the money in hand. That's important for them to know. So that said, this person is weekly, but I just want to reiterate every chance I get. It's a difference between every 2 weeks and twice monthly. I know you've been getting paid for a long time, so you already know this, but somebody may mix this up, so I want to be clear. Every 2 weeks is you might get paid every other Friday, which means that in certain months, you might get 3 paychecks because 3 Fridays fell in that month. Twice monthly is the 1st and the 15th, or the 5th and the 20th. So that's the difference between those two. Hopefully that makes sense. Then you scroll down and it says, using your most recent pay stub, when did your most recent pay period end? So on the check, you'll see that the pay end was January the 7th. So you can just click that calendar. That's all I did. Click that calendar. You can type it in if you choose, but it was just easy to tap the calendar. And you type in January the 7th. What was your most recent pay date? Now, most checks will have pay date on the check. This one worded it different. It said advice date. And we confirmed with her to make sure she typically gets paid on the date that also matched that advice date. And that so happened to be the 12th, which is that Friday. So she gets paid every Friday. Sometimes she gets the paycheck early, but for their records, they're putting in the 12th. So make sure you know the pay date, and usually it's on the check. Everybody's stuff look different, but obviously if it's your check, you know when you get paid. So hers is every Friday. The most recent Friday was the 12th. Select the option that best describes your current situation. The last paycheck is a good representation of how much she earns on an average per pay period, or my paychecks vary week to week, averaging 2 to 3 paychecks will provide a more accurate picture of how much I make. So right here, we're going to say this is a good representation of how much the person earns on an average each pay period. Then it says enter wages per pay period. So what was the wages for this pay period? I didn't write that one down. So let me pull that up. Look at me. All right. This one is gross $837.50. $837.50. And at any time as we're going through this, and you know the answer, you can feel free to type it in the chat. But $837.50. Now, enter the wages earned year to date. I want y'all to put that in the chat. Type it in the chat. What was the wages earned year to date? And while y'all thinking about it or looking for it or finding it, I'm gonna hit that question mark. This basically says total wages. Enter the total amount you expect to receive from this job this year. This includes your gross pre-tax wages, salary, and tips you expect to receive as compensation for your job before contributions for any tax-favored benefits, such as Section 401k, etc. Do not include bonuses. But we need to know earned wages year to date. So what's the earned wages year to date?
Come on, y'all. We need y'all in the chat. I see somebody put $837.50.
All right, look to the left of the $837.50, and then lines up with a word that should let you know that $837.50 is not the year to date. All right, we'll give y'all 5 seconds.
Who else we got, y'all?
Give
Don't
y'all
be
5
scared.
seconds.
You have to learn, okay? I see Lilia said $1472.50.
And that would be correct. $1472.50 is the year-to-date earnings. This is why it's important to have the most recent paycheck stub so you can see that, because obviously the amount she got paid on this check is not double or the exact amount as what the year-to-date is, because things are subject to change based on, months changing, weeks changing, hours changing, etc. So $1472.50. Based on the information provided, it looks like your annual income from this job is $43,347. Is this correct? This is where you have to know whether or not the math is mathing. And in this case, we talked to the person. They said, "No, that's not accurate." They said, "No, the accurate amount is more like 35,000." So that's what we'll put, because sometimes what it does is it does some calculation based on certain things, and that number may not always be correct. We had that scenario, times on W-4 examples in the previous years, but you just have to know. So that way they don't tax you incorrectly, because if they think that 43,000 is an accurate amount, then that might have bumped you up a tax bracket. It might have charged you a little bit more, said your anticipated tax withholding was higher than it should be. So it's important that you know that, so that way when you adjust it and say, no, it's more like this, then it's more accurate than what they spit out. Hopefully that makes sense. Enter your federal taxes paid per pay period. So the federal taxes paid per pay period on this one is $63.85. $63.85 into federal taxes paid year to date. Who want to take a shot at that? The federal so where I got total taxes, where I got the taxes from, $63.85. That's in one location. What is the year to date total taxes? Drop that in the chat. Year to date. Anytime you cover up the camera, it black it out because it'll so y'all don't cover up the camera. What I do? Year to date, 10, 9, 8, 7. I don't want y'all to be waiting on too many answers, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that number in.
Okay, y'all having a hard time seeing it? Okay, so Lily said, I think it says 123.67.
And Lilius would be correct.
Yeah.
2 out of 2.
123.67.
123.67.
Somebody said 127.67. That's just seeing that last digit wrong. That's okay.
Yeah, and it is a little blurred, especially magnified and all of that, but 123.67 is the number. Select any that apply for this job. I contribute to a 401k, I contribute to a health insurance plan, I am getting a bonus, I got a bonus, none of the above. In this case, if you look right above where we're talking about the gross pay, there's a little section that says before tax deduction. And if you look at the description, it says UHC High Vision Plan. So that is a form of health insurance. You can always hit the question mark to confirm. And this is pre-tax as well. So this is something that comes out prior to taxes. So we'll go ahead and select that box and enter the amounts. Enter the amount per pay period. On this one, the current amount that came out is $2.97. So we'll put that there. Enter the amount year to date. The year-to-date amount is $5.94. So basically, every week is $2.97, and it's the exact same amount because that's exactly double the $2.97. So at the end of the month, it's going to be, $20 plus. Just just throwing it out there. Then they ask you, are you getting a bonus? Got a bonus? None of the above. That doesn't apply, so we'll leave that alone. Other sources of income. We're not putting any other sources of income, but if you did have some other income, better believe they want to know about it. And mainly so they can give you the most accurate estimate at the end. They a little nosy, but they more so want to give you an accurate estimate at the end so they can make sure you have an idea of what your tax situation is likely to be. Then we scroll down to withholding and estimated tax payments on other sources of income. So this is a person, if they were making other sources of income, and let's just say that income came from my econ and it wasn't taxed. So they're getting hundreds of dollars from my econ. Some people may want to prepay taxes because they know that their my econ money isn't being taxed, and they can put that number in there saying that they, want to add an extra withholding. However, if you pay attention in my econ, that's not what we recommend. In other words, we would rather you get tax deductions by being a part of my econ, making sure your monthly membership is 100% tax deductible. You doing business with the intent to make a profit. So now those tax deductions help offset that income, not you having to keep putting more money into paying taxes. Hopefully that makes sense. And then estimated tax payments, we'll leave that alone as well, and we'll select next. Adjustments to income. Adjustments reduce the amount of your income subject to tax. Many taxpayers don't have large enough adjustments to income to have a significant impact on their tax obligation. Select any adjustments to income you plan to make when you file your 2024 income taxes, or go to the next step. So we're going to leave this part blank and go to the next step, but you can see it's a list of things. If you think it fits something that you qualify for and it will offset your income, click the question mark, let it elaborate, and then you select it based on what you know to be true about yourself. But for the sake of this example, we're going to hit next and leave that number at 0. Then we get to the standard or the itemized deductions. So the standard deduction is something that everybody qualifies for just based on your filing status. Whether you're single, you got a certain number. When you head a household, you got a certain number. And it changes on a year-to-year basis. This person is head of household, so their standard deduction based on the current time frame, is 21,900, and it actually went up again. So 21,900, that's the standard deduction. Now, when it comes to itemized deductions, the only time itemizing makes sense is if the itemizations is going to be larger than the standard deduction. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense because you end up losing more money in the form of taxes by claiming itemizations of 15,000. Well, the government's giving you the standard deduction of 21,900. So you, in most cases, would take the standard deduction. And that's exactly what we're going to do on here. Take that standard deduction. And it basically says, would you like to see if itemizing your deductions would be to your advantage? And then it says yes or no, just take the standard deduction. So I'm going to use the standard deduction based on everything that I just stated and go to the next screen. Then we talk about tax credits. Now, how many kids did this single mother have? Who remembers? Who was listening? Who's paying attention in class? Who's sitting at the front of the room taking notes? Drop it in the chat. How many kids did we say?
A kid said 2.
Okay, a kid said 2.
All right, Markel 2.
Okay.
Renault. Oh, I hope I don't mess it up. 2. Lami 2. Okay.
All 2s. Okay. Y'all was listening. We'll give y'all a stick for paying attention to class. How old will you be on January 1st of next year? We didn't know her age. We're just gonna say 39. You know, if you're much younger, you know, my apologies. If you're older, then you know, forever 39. 30 is the new 20s. So child or dependent credits. You indicated you have a dependent or dependents. Enter age for each dependent you wish to claim. So we're going to say that one child is 16 years old and then add another child for 2. We'll say the other child is 14 years of age. So at that age, you're not going to be paying any child or dependent care or trying to get the dependent care credit. So we're going to leave that blank. And it says enter the amount of qualifying work-related child care expenses. We're leaving that blank because these are teenagers. So that, you know, doesn't qualify. Earned income tax credit. Enter the number of qualifying children for the earned income tax credit. The earned income tax credit is limited to 3 qualifying children. Now, I will hit the question mark on this because this is important to elaborate on. The earned income tax credit or earned income credit is a benefit for working people with low to moderate income. To qualify, you must meet certain requirements and file the tax return, even if you do not owe any tax or are not required to file. The earned income tax credit reduces the amount of tax you owe and may give you a refund. We recommend you use the EITC assistant to determine your eligibility for earned income tax credit. Now, we're not going to dive into the EITC assistant, but most people know if they are accustomed to getting that earned income tax credit, but I'll go over the details. A qualifying child is a son, daughter, stepchild, foster child, brother, sister, stepbrother, stepsister, half brother, half sister, or descendant of any of them. For example, your grandchild, niece, or nephew. And it basically says they need to be under the age of 19 at the end of this year or under the age of 24 at the end of this year, a student and younger than you or your spouse, if filing jointly or any age and permanently or totally disabled. So this person, both of our children are under the age of 19. So it fits that qualification and they're not claiming themselves or any of that stuff. So for this, we're going to put 2. You can get up to 3. 3 is the max, but we're going to put 2 because she has 2 qualifying children. Then you see the adoption tax credit. Enter the amount of adoption tax credit for which you expect to be eligible. This person doesn't, have that credit, but look at all of these credits and elaborate on them and see if it's something that fits your scenario. Do you have an energy efficient vehicle? There's credits for that, and it's pretty significant when you understand it. And those credits are things that I love because it takes off a big chunk when it's time to file your taxes versus pennies at a time. So if you qualify for some of these credits, take advantage. But for this person, the only one is the earned income tax credit, and it brings us to the final screen. This is where you get your results. So after you put in all of your information, you make it to this page, and it says your result. Based on the information you entered, the projected refund is $10,349, just based on the information. Now, for some different things and different scenarios that we didn't include, then it may adjust. It could be higher, it could be lower, depending on certain things. If you do not change your withholding, more tax than necessary is being withheld from your paycheck, is what they're saying. Why am I getting a refund? So it says expected tax withholding. Because taxes are being taken out, it's expected that they're going to end up paying $3,273 when it's all said and done. However, because they're head of household, and mainly because they qualify for their earned income tax credit, their real deal amount that they're supposed to pay in is zero. So they're paying in an extra $3,000 just based on, the amount of taxes that's coming out. Then the estimated refundable credits based on them having an earned income tax credit gives them a total of $10,349. Now I'm gonna read that asterisk. So right there where it says tax before refundable credits and it has the $0 by it, it has an asterisk there. The asterisk says this is your expected tax liability for the 2024 tax year reported on the 2024 Form 1040 due to be filed by April 15th, 2025. So that number is the expected tax liability. Well, it's a big zero right there based on their situation. That's not going to be everybody. Most people will have, I say most, but a lot of people will have a number right there where say you're expected to pay $5,000 throughout the year. However, you're paying in $6,000, so you get $1,000 refund. Just some quick math. So most people will have a number there, but this person, based on their situation, is expected to pay zero. And since they're paying in some, plus they get the credit, the refund is projected to be $10,349. Now, underneath that, it says to change the refund amount to approximately zero, submit a new Form W-4 as follows to your employer to adjust your withholding. So basically, they give you the option to where you can click a couple of drop downs and they have the form filled out below. So I'm gonna take it one step at a time. Why do I need to submit a new Form W-4? This basically is what we talk about. You need to use the Form W-4 to communicate with your employer or pension provider about your situation so that the right amount of tax is being withheld. We all know that we recommend filling out the W-4 every time your situation changes. Not even us. The IRS recommends filling it out every time a situation changes or anytime it's a new year. Consider revisiting that W-4. Now, how can I get a larger refund? So what they're saying is they want to tell you, because some people look at this and they say, I want to get a larger refund at the end of the year, more than the 10,000 or more than whatever it's showing. So when I hit this download, it's going to show what you need to do in order to get a larger refund. Simply put, all this is saying, and it's a lot of jargon and a lot of math, all it's saying is you pay in extra if you want a larger refund. Now, this is what my econ teaches. In many cases, in order to get a larger refund, you just need more tax deductions. So a person who works a job and a person who is building a business on the side of their job, whether it be my econ plus other things, I recommend you, incorporate my econ. But a person who's building a business on side of their job, you position yourself to get a ton of tax deductions. And when you file your taxes, you know what to expect in terms of your refund based on you filling out the W-4. But then you go into your tax preparer and you got an extra $6,000 in tax deductions. That might boost your refund by $1,500. Just, rough math, throwing something out there. So understanding how my econ and tax deductions work, we prefer you take that strategy opposed to just paying extra money in. I know y'all know some people who say, yeah, I pay in an extra $50 a paycheck because I don't want to. Oh, that's pretty much all this section is saying. If you want a larger refund or if you're likely to owe, then just give us more money throughout the year and we'll hold on to your money throughout the year and determine, what you're looking like when you file your taxes. That's all that section is saying. Now, based on what we have, if you scroll down, it says how to adjust your withholdings on a Form W-4. Use the following instructions to download and complete a new Form W-4 to submit to your employer. You may also use these directions as guidance for an employer-provided W-4 on the online portal. So right here in that box, that blue box, it says download pre-filled W-4. So anytime you click on that, it'll be a pre-filled W-4. Now, if I click on this, would it pull up that pre-fill no problem? Or is it going to be like a download or something?
It is going to be a download, but
okay.
They only filling in one line.
Yeah, so it's usually just one line anyway. It's usually pre-filled, but right here it's telling you how to do it. So you got your personal information, you know how to do that. Multiple job, spouse, claims, dependents, but then you go to other adjustments. And it pretty much says enter an amount of $105 on step 4A of the income, not from jobs. If you downloaded the pre-fill form, this amount has been entered for you. So that's all it is. When you download the pre-fill, it's going to pre-fill it in based on what's already here. And anytime you go in and adjust your numbers, play with numbers, that number will change based on your situation. So that's all it is to it. Download the pre-fill, but they're also teaching you how to go about filling out this form. And then it says B, submit your new W-4 form to your employer as soon as possible for your changes to take effect. C, return to this estimator and fill out a new form W-4 in January. So they're like, hey, come back in January because things may have changed since then. So that's it in a nutshell. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on or mention or want me to elaborate on, whatever the case may be?
No, I mean, for the most part, guys, you have the option if you want to. I mean, her situation was a little bit different because based on her situation, she's really not obligated to pay any taxes. However, if it shows differently for you up here at the top, and we're going to do more examples, they'll tell you exactly, what they're expecting you to pay during the tax year. And if you're expected to get a refund, and then you can make that decision. If you are perfectly fine and you like, I want to keep my paychecks exactly as they are, then you don't have to make any changes and then just expect a refund at the beginning of the year. But if you want to change that to where you're not getting a refund, then that's where you want to, you can make whatever changes you want, but the decision is up to you.
Yeah, and in order to do that, and that's a whole nother video, because it used to have a slider tool. The slider tool is not here, and they're not showing you a way to get a pay raise on your check. Now, there is a way to do it, and it would make you put in a different number on that line 4. And that would be you going back to where you had adjustments or even credits if you knew you qualified for certain credits. And I was checking the credit section. The business credit section is still being updated. It's not even finished yet. But when you put numbers in that, or you put numbers in your adjustments, then it will spit out a different number for you to put on that line 4. Once you have that new number to put on line 4, that is what's going to be the thing that allows you to get more of your paycheck. They're not making it as easy to give yourself a pay raise based on this new form, based on my observation. They just want you to know, hey, do you want to position yourself to get a fatter refund? They're trying to hold on to the money as long as they possibly can, is what it seemed like. Most of the time, it was like, hey, you just do this to, give yourself a pay raise. But it's all going to boil down to what goes on line 4. But I don't recommend just guessing a number because you might, overestimate and you put yourself in a predicament. However, when the update comes from the business credit section, or we figure out the best numbers for the adjustment, then we will put the numbers in the adjustment and give you a snapshot of both. We'll go through the full W-4, showing you what the end result looks like, then put in the information on the adjustment and see how that number changes. So you can change that line 4 and position yourself to get a pay raise. So things have changed.
Yeah.
But we always adapt and adjust based on the changes, because at the end of the day, sometimes it ain't a matter of feeling as though it can't be done. It's a matter of figuring out how to do it and how can it be done. And that's what we're in the business of. So hopefully y'all got some nuggets. This was a pretty simple, fairly simple example for a person head of household. Didn't have too many things going on. But yours may be different. You may be paying into 401k. You may have some adjustments. You may be paying into, or you may not have kids.
That's gonna be a good one.
You may be married. You may be, So we'll do quite a few different examples, and you'll adjust it based on your situation. But it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. And then anything you're unsure of, the question mark at the end will elaborate.
Okay. So guys, let us stop the recording and then we'll get into questions, because I do see a question in the chat. Double tap.